Hey everyone, welcome to our Read Aloud, and today we are going to read this story that I've never read before, and it's called Amazing Grace. And there's a song called Amazing Grace, and we know that we have a Grace in our classroom this year. So Amazing Grace is by Mary Hoffman, and it's illustrated by Caroline Binch. Now, this book is very similar to Stand Tall, Molly Lou Melon, which we read last time. So I want you to think, as we're reading it, what characters in Amazing Grace are like the same characters in Stand Tall, Molly Lou Melon? And what's the moral of the story? We know the moral of this story is to stand tall, believe in yourself, and never give up. What is this moral? Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace. And here it gives us some clues right here. I see she's dressed up as different things. Grace was a girl who loved stories. She didn't mind if they were read to her, or told to her, or made up in her own head. She didn't care if they were from books or movies or out of Nana's long memory. Grace just loved stories. And after she had heard them, and sometimes while they were still going on, Grace would act them out. And she always gave herself the most exciting part. Okay, do you have a connection to the other text? So this is called a text-to-text connection, a book to a book, a text to a text, to Molly Lou Melon. How is this story starting the same way as Stand Tall? The grandma, right? That's how Molly Lou's story started. Grace went into battle as Joan of Arc and wave a wicked web as a Nancy the spider. She hid inside the wooden horse at the gates of Troy. She went exploring for lost kingdoms. She sailed the 7 seas with a peg leg and a parrot. So you might be doing a clarify. What is a peg leg? If you look, a peg leg is a peg for a leg. It's a little wooden leg. So a lot of pirates have a peg leg because they've lost their leg somehow, maybe by an alligator. She was Aladdin, rubbing his magic lamp to make the genie appear, and Mowgli in the backyard jungle. So you might have connections to these two stories. Aladdin you might know, Jungle Book. Most of all, Grace loved to act out adventure stories and fairy tales. When there was no one else around, Grace played all the parts herself. She set out to seek her fortune with no companion but her trusty cat, and found a city with streets paved in gold. Do you have an imagination like Grace? Do you act out stories, put on little plays for your families? Sometimes she could get Ma and Nana to join in when they weren't too busy. Then she was Dr. Grace, and their lives were in her hands. How many of you have acted and played doctor just like Grace? One day, Grace's teacher said they would play Peter Pan. Grace knew who she wanted to be. What do you think Grace wants to be in the play Peter Pan? You think she'd be Tinkerbell, Captain Hook, or Peter Pan? When she raised her hand, Raj said, "You can't be Peter. That's a boy's name." But Grace kept her hand up. Does that remind you of Molly Lou? Standing tall. "You can't be Peter Pan," whispered Natalie. "He isn't black." What? That's not nice to say. But Grace kept her hand up. "All right," said the teacher. "Lots of you want to be Peter Pan, so we'll have auditions next week to choose parts." She gave them words to learn. Let's look here. What grade do you think Grace is in? Let's read the picture here. Here I see weather, a weather calendar, some maybe finger paint here. Here we have blocks. I was thinking kindergarten, but let's keep reading. So she has to do an audition. What's an audition? It's where you have to try out for a part to see if you get it. All these people are thinking she can't be Peter Pan. She's a girl, and she doesn't have white skin. What do you think? Do you think she could be Peter? When Grace got home, she seemed sad. "What's the matter?" asked Ma. "Raj said I couldn't be Peter Pan because I'm a girl." "That just shows what Raj knows," said Ma. "A girl can be Peter Pan if she wants to." Grace cheered up. Then later she remembered something else. "Natalie says I can't be Peter Pan because I'm black," she said. Ma looked angry. But before she could speak, Nana said, "It seems Natalie is another one who don't know nothing. You can be anything you want, Grace, if you put your mind to it." This grandma sounds like who? Did you say Milu's grandma? Grandmas are super smart. On Saturday, Nana told Grace they were going out. In the afternoon, they caught a bus and train into town. Nana took Grace to a grand theater. The sign outside read, "Rosalie Wilkins in Romeo and Juliet," in sparkling lights. "Are we going to the ballet, Nana?" asked Grace. "We are, honey, but first I want you to look at this picture." Okay, so here it says Stunning New Juliet, matinee. That means an early showing, 2:00 p.m. today. Okay, so look closely. Why do you think Nana wants her to look at that poster closely? What do you notice about Juliet? Grace looked up and saw a beautiful young ballerina in a tutu. Above the dancer, it said, "Stunning New Juliet." "That one is little Rosalie from back home in Trinidad," said Nana. You might be doing clarify. Trinidad is a different country, far, far away. "Her granny and me, we grew up together on the island. She's always asking me to if I do want tickets to see her Rosalie dance. So this time I said yes." After the ballet, Grace played the part of Juliet, dancing around her room in her imaginary tutu. "I can be anything I want." Now, in the story Romeo and Juliet, which is one of the most famous stories in the world, it's a play, Juliet had white skin, but here Juliet has black skin. So why do you think her grandma wanted her to see that? Because the kids were saying she couldn't be Peter Pan because she had black skin. On Monday, the class met for auditions to choose who was the best for each part. When it was Grace's turn to be Peter, she knew exactly what to do and all the words to say. She had been Peter Pan all weekend. She took a deep breath and imagined herself flying. When it was time to vote, the class chose Raj to be Captain Hook, Natalie to be Wendy. There was no doubt who would be Peter Pan. Everyone voted for Grace. "You are fantastic," whispered Natalie. So who does Natalie remind you of? Who changed her mind, felt a little foolish? Who was that? Do you remember who it was in the book? Let me show you a picture to remind you. We didn't like him at first. Ronald Durkin. The play was a big success, and Grace was an amazing Peter Pan. After it was all over, she said, "I feel as if I could fly all the way home." "You probably could," said Ma. "Yes," said Nana. "If Grace put her mind to it, she can do anything she wants." And that is the end of our story. So what is the moral of Amazing Grace? It's the exact same moral as Stand Tall, Molly Lou Mellon. If you believe in yourself, you can do anything. So every day I want you to be like Amazing Grace and Molly Lou Mellon, because you can do anything, and I know you can. Thanks for reading with me.